Hey guys, Addy here with day 17, 18, 17, 17, 18. I'll find out eventually. I think it's 18. Right, so you guys know that I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan when it comes to my video games and my films, except for the Spirits Within. No one talks about Spirits Within. And I've done pretty much my opinions on every single Final Fantasy game. Not necessarily on my channel, but like I've done opinions of it. I have an opinion of every single one of my Final Fantasy games. Um, I say my Final Fantasy games. Wow, that is like so first grade overbite realness there. Cups of silk. But I figured, but I always sound slightly biased when I review them because I very rarely list like the negatives in them, and that makes me a real jerk. So I figured for today's video, as we're starting to wrap up now, I know it's weird and scary. It needs to stop. I will give you an honest review of Final Fantasy 15. Now, I say honest review because most of my reviews end up me sounding like, you know, I'm sleeping with Nomura or Nobu and like, so I have to buttfuck everything Final Fantasy says. And my reviews read that like that. And that's really bad for me. Because I can find flaws with every single like game series that I like. Just ask my opinions on Devil May Cry 2. But I do sound really biased in a lot of my videos, in a lot of my reviews. So I have an unbiased review. It's taken me a while to actually work one out, but I have one, and let's do it. I'm going on the rule of gags: gameplay, action, graphics, and story. Gags. Gagging. No, seriously. And I'm going to go through. I have actually found plus points and negative points. A lot of these are actually quite negative. So I just hope the guys don't like the Square Enix team don't try and kill me. Right, let's get right into it. First G, gameplay. What I love about Final Fantasy 15's gameplay is the world feels fully realized. You know, you have like real proper like story like elements to it. You have, for example, there are differences between. There's noted differences between locations in the game. You go to Medaccio, and it's all like rural and like home built and like everyone. And then you go to somewhere like Lestalem, where it's the women whether it's the women who go out to like who go out and do all the hard work, and the men are like the housekeepers and yeah, the men are all housekeepers, and women are like working in the power plants and working in factories and cities and everything like that. And it's the men who raise the kids. It's the men who, and that for me really worked. I mean, it was even like small things like the fact of like the Imperial City uses the currency in the Imperial City. Sorry about that. You really didn't need that. The currency in the Imperial City is money, whereas outside of the city, the currency is all gil. And it was like, it's just like stuff like that. Stuff like that was really it really worked for me. And sorry, I'm moving you guys again. And I thought it was really cool. But negatives to that was the game randomly started introducing new mechanics. I don't mind introducing a couple of new mechanics, but it was like massive, massive new. Sorry, I'll try that again. Massive new mechanics. It was like the point warping. Like it was the warp striking, and it was the warp to this point, and it was like this is the only way you can navigate. And then they introduced other bits, like there are only certain ways you can walk, and there are like, and it tried a lot to seem somewhat like it was trying almost to try and be 101 different types of games instead of just being a Final Fantasy game. And also it had a massive tendency to like massively plot armor. Like Noctis would take a fall off the top of a waterfall and get like 5 damage, but he'd get like hit by a freaking cactus or something and he'd be out. And it's like, what? And that really frustrated me as a gamer and as a Final Fantasy fan, because I'm like, come on guys, we can do better than this. We know better than this. We did this all before, it failed, it fucked up. So let's actually focus on something we can do. So yeah, so gameplay, I'd give it, if I was to rate like each segment, which I probably am going to do, I'm newly decided. I'd probably give gameplay like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I wouldn't go as far as 9 because I don't think it was quite as good as it could have been, and I do think that they made a lot of different and, in my occasion, quite poor choices with certain things. So yeah, gameplay gets a 7 out of 10. Right, A for action. Just going, yeah. The actual battle system was really cool. It wasn't turn-based. It wasn't like order or anything. It was it didn't have an ATB. It was basically the way a real battle would be. It's fast, it's furious. Everyone's attacking everything all at the same time. There's no countdowns or anything like that. There's no bars to fill or anything like that. And that for me really worked, because I'm very much that kind of a battle person. I like to know I can attack whenever I want, know I can guard whenever I want, rather than, you know, oh, it's his turn, then it's his turn, then it's her turn, then it's her turn, then it's her turn, then it's his turn, then it's my turn. I don't like that in my games, which is really bad considering Final Fantasy X is one of my favourite games of all time. But I don't like turn-based things. I need to be, everyone can attack whenever. As long as you're ready to attack, seriously. And it allowed for everybody to use their own individual skills at the same time. You know, you had Ignis would first aid, or Ignis would use Libra and find weaknesses. Gladio would just smash things, because Gladio is fucking awesome. Prompto would be clever and like sly and like lots of little shots instead of one big shot, which works really well. So it was a real good battle system. However, there were a lot of occasions where you were forced to use warp striking, or forced to use blindsiding, or forced to use like double up attacks, which necessarily you couldn't always get right. And it was sort of, it just didn't feel like it worked properly at that point, and it didn't feel like it was trying to do what it should have been doing. And it felt like really, really badly. Also, the fact that your party could be damaged by magic really wound me up. It's like these guys are their king's guard. They're like fathers, and their predecessors have seen the king use magic, and they haven't built anything to prevent them from being hit by the king's magic. Here is a problem. And it just seemed really fruitless as to why they wouldn't have already like established some form of protection and stop them getting hit by the king's magic and stuff like that, stop them being hit by the magic of the elders, magic of the six rather, and it just didn't work. Also, the fact that there were so many gaps between like characters' health and damage outputs and stuff like that just really annoyed me, because like some characters would like peak at level 60, and like Gladio and Noctis really, wow, forgot the lead character's name, Adam, really kind of didn't do a lot. Like really kept going, whereas Prompto, I think I am at the state where I was fine by level 40. Ignis at level 6, and it didn't work for me. It just really didn't work. Second G, graphics. Now, I love this game because this game graphically was an orgasm for me. It was huge, you know? It had buildings that, like, you looked at and you thought, there is no way a person could ever climb to the top of it. I mean, the size of some of, like, the enemies, like, as far as, like, well, not the enemies, some of the six. I mean, Titan was, oh my god, an orgasm for me. Titan was amazing. Titan was beautiful in its own macabre, gritty, dark realism. I'm always a fan of Leviathan, so anytime I see Leviathan in a game, I'm instantly happy, because they always seem to have him looking like a badass. Bahamut looks like a dragoon, so I can't complain there. I love my dragoons. But even just the world itself was great. You had things like real hair and real wind kind of graphics, and like the wind would blow characters' hair, or it would blow the chocobo's feathers, and it really worked. And it like and cities looked huge and like amazing. Like looking at a city, you could see, wow, this is a fucking big place. This is going to be fun. And it's really big, and it's like really cool, and like I say, the open world graphics are fucking amazing. There you go. I've sworn for the first time in God knows how many videos. And just like textile, like little textile graphics work perfectly. However, now I'm going to be a hypocrite. While it worked great, if you go into a city, everything looked copy and pasted. Nothing really looked original. I mean, I remember I've walked through Lestalem now so many times, in like normal Lestalem and the Assassin's Festival Lestalem, and there's just copy and pasted windows, and I hate copy and pasted windows so fucking much. It's just, if you're gonna have windows, but have windows with like different coloured curtains blowing, like curtains blowing in the wind or whatever. Don't literally just copy the same thing. Stuff like that drives me absolutely mental, and because it takes me out. You know, I don't feel there's any real like substance. I don't feel there's any real like bite in my game if I look at a wall and the same windows go all the way along, because of the fact that someone just highlight, copy, paste. Really drives me mental. I mean, I know that like I ask for a lot in my games. I do ask for a lot in my games. I ask for my games to be beautiful. I ask my games to like be individual, to rely on themselves, and I don't do that. I hold Final Fantasy to the highest regard for doing that, because it can do it. It's done it before. It did it with 10. It did it with 8. It did it with 12. Wow. But I don't know. Just small, like, scale down graphics to me in 15 could have been so much better. It was the first one we had on PS4. It was the first real one we had on PS4. It was the first time we had something really like, get your teeth into it, bite it, rip it, tear it apart. And it did, and graphically it was so bad. In like towns and villages like the Lestalem, copy and pasted windows. It could have been great. It could have been much worse, but it should have been better, basically. Yes, I know, I just quoted Five Finger Death Punch. Moving on. And finally, the S story. I liked the story of 15. I really did. Everyone got development. Everyone like learned. Everyone changed. I mean, you had Gladio go from this buddy kind of like older brother kind of like adage to basically a prick who was only there to finish the job, and then no one would care about it. You know? Hang now. You know, he became a prick who had finished the job, and then, it's done. We can leave it now. Sort of thing. And that's what it was. Ignis became the stalwart, always here, always so quietly confident, to a broken mess. When it happens, I'm doing this completely spoiler free, but when it happens, and his character after it's happened, you can feel that this guy has lost something. And then you have Prompto. Again, when you find that out about Prompto, everything changes. And you're like, oh. And it really did keep up with the ability to tell stories that Final Fantasy has always had. Like, right way back from, like, the Nintendo and Famicom and everything like that, all the way to PS4. Final Fantasy has always had a great ability to tell stories. However, issue with the story in 15 is, after chapter 6 or 7, I think it is, when they go to Altissia, the game feels like it's rushing to complete itself. It's like, okay, Okay, no, this has happened now. Blah, 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 blah. You don't need to worry about the rest. All done. I mean, the pace picks up, but the pace picks up to a point where you're not able to take anything in. It's just going like straight past you, and you're like, huh. Oh. And then they throw, and on top of that, they throw in like really bad plot developments, really bad plot twists that you're like, why do I care? Like, yeah, sure, whatever. We seem to be rushing this entire game anyway. We might as well just throw stupid plot elements that leave you scratching your head and finger up your ass and going, what? And a lot of them feel like they've been thrown in for shock value. Shut up! A lot of the plot twists are feel like they're thrown in for shock value, which pisses me off to no end. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. I get fucked off really badly by like plot twists. I don't get like pissed off by plot twists. I get pissed off by plot twists that just appear and don't actually do anything. You know, and it's sort of But yeah, the whole game after Altisha is finishable in 6 hours. Now a lot of people would argue, but the entire game is finishable in 6 hours. It's sort of yes, but after Altisha, it really is finishable in 6 hours. I know that's how long it took me to do it, and I got 98% of the game through. I got 98% of the game through by the time I finished the story. And it was just like, and it's like graphic, shattering, kind of tear you apart kind of stuff. Is just thrown in for shock value, and I hate shock value at the best of times, but when you do it to me like that, I get really pissed. So for graphics, I'd probably rate it an 8 out of 10. For story, I'd probably have to drop it down to a 6 out of 10. Right, time for my overall review. Basically, without the DLC, without like chapter 13 verse 2, some of episode prompt demo, some of episode Gladio, all the DLC content, the game feels really clumsy and can be really hard to follow. But if you can follow it, it's a great story. It's one of my favourites by far. Battle system feels new, everything feels refreshed, everything feels different, which is what you really want in a Final Fantasy game. You don't want the same thing as last time. It's definitely worthy of its title. So basically, to rate it, I'd probably give it, I don't know, probably about an 8 out of 10. Right guys, I have made my decision about the Q&A. People have been messaging me, and for those who have, I really appreciate it. I've made a decision on what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell you till I shoot that video. Guys, let me know if you have any other thoughts on Final Fantasy 15. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I love you guys. Well, comment, like, share, subscribe. I love it. And I love you guys. Right, I'm going to shoot because I have stupid stuff to take care of, such as iOS 11. Yay. Anyone who's pre-downloaded that, warn me if it's shit. Thanks, guys. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.